How did you get started as a wrestler?
All right. Well, I watched it since I was very, very young. It's actually some of the earliest recollections I have in my life is actually watching wrestling. And for the longest time, I thought you kind of just had to be a model to be a female wrestler. So I didn't really know how to get into it. And once I was in college and getting my degree, I actually really started looking into it. And that was kind of where the WWE was kind of transitioning out of more just being supermodels and more kind of looking into like female athletes. So I really started doing my research, and I was looking at kind of where the hotbeds of wrestling were. And so after I graduated from college, I moved to Florida, and I started at one school and was there for a little while, and now I transferred to Team Vision Dojo here in Orlando, and I've been training there for the past 8 months, and everything is going great. I found a wonderful school, and I have some amazing trainers, and they've really, really been helping me. I mean, just the progress I've had since I've got there is unbelievable, and now that I'm doing shows around the Orlando area and the South Florida area, and hopefully be traveling out of state here pretty soon this year, I've just been really lucky to find my way and finding the right trainers, that's for sure.
So when you was watching as a fan prior to you becoming a wrestler yourself, who was some of the wrestlers, male and female, that stood out to you? Who were the ones in particular that made you say, you know what, I want to be a wrestler because of them people?
Well, my first one was 100% Sting. I grew up only watching WCW, and Sting in the black and white, I was just like in a trance with him. I thought it was the coolest thing there ever was, and watching him beat up the NWO really, really made me love wrestling, just the storytelling and the good versus evil. He was like, the Cape Crusader. He was just like Batman. So he was definitely one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. One of the reasons I got into wrestling. Of course, Goldberg was one of the big knights in shining armor in the WCW, and his streak and, just his, I believe the hype, what they were going for, and he was one of the main reasons why I loved wrestling, and just the theatrics behind his streak and his seriousness and his pro athlete, his resume beforehand. And now, female-wise, I really wasn't the biggest fan of female wrestlers growing up. It wasn't until I got older. Definitely women like Lita and Trish Stratus. And then even women who weren't necessarily wrestlers, but who were valets and managers, like the Sensational Sherry. Just their character work, and they were so important. They played all different kind of roles in shaping women's wrestling. And I really like watching their work, even though a lot of them wrestled back when female wrestling wasn't so prevalent. They were the ones that definitely kick-started it. So their creativity and working their way up to get noticed is amazing to watch. And even looking back on those matches, they had some really great matches considering the time that they were wrestling in. And nowadays, watching wrestling from, indie wrestling to ROH to over there in England, then New Japan, my favorite wrestler currently is Kenny Omega. He is probably the most talented human being I've ever seen in the ring. And the fact that he has natural curly hair, and so do I, and most wrestlers don't have that, is one thing that I love, that he puts it out there for everybody to see. Everyone with crazy hair usually doesn't put it out there, so I respect him for doing that too.
For Sting, those, the Crow Sting, with WCW, that he was the franchise. He was that guy. And even when WCW was on his way out of business, he stood there to the bitter end when so many up north. And loyalty, that's a word that people use a lot, and people act certain way, but I respect Sting for sticking it out through the end. And at least he had a couple of moments in WWE before he retired. Kenny Omega is probably my favorite wrestler active right now. And at this point, he is the biggest free agent in wrestling right now. You know, a lot of people are battling for his services. All Elite Wrestling, which not too far from your neck of the woods, Jacksonville,
Right.
Florida. People are hype about it. You know, Cody, Young Bucks, Jacksonville Jaguars, which I find very interesting that, you know, those owners have now found themselves in the wrestling business. And, you know, but but it did, that rally was pretty hype. And I'm like, okay, May 25th better get here quick, because I'm ready for it. Double or nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Actually, a couple people that I train with and I wrestle with, they were actually there at the rally. A couple people I know were at SmackDown and just hanging out in the Jacksonville area. So I definitely know a few people personal that were there, and I was a little jealous, not going to lie.
so, you know, there's just so much going on in the wrestling world. You know, women wrestling continues to grow and involves many more talent getting opportunities here and there. For you, you know, you being a woman wrestler, how do you feel about women wrestling, you know, entering 2019? And from a fan standpoint, what do you want to see more of as far as opportunities and anything in particular?
Well, for women's wrestling, it definitely has been kind of put in, you know, in plain view. Like, it's very more in people's minds. But I think women's wrestling was great even years ago. You know, like I said, when Trish and Lita and Molly Holly and Victoria and Jazz, like women like them, they really were in the forefront and really worked their butt off to, back then, to not be considered just women's wrestlers or just divas. They were just wrestlers. And I honestly think that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be just women's wrestling, and they don't say male wrestling. They're just wrestlers. So, you know, with the reality TV shows and stuff like that, putting, you know, women's wrestling in this glamorous world, well, you know, on the scene that I'm on right now, it's very, very different life. It's not as glamorous. It's definitely pretty brutal and tough and long hours, and all of us work 1 or 2 or 3 jobs on the side and also wrestle and also go to the gym, and it's definitely not as glamorous as people think it is on TV, but we do it because we want to be wrestlers. And I think that's one thing in 2019 that probably would be weeded out is women who are serious about being wrestlers and women who just kind of want to be on TV. That's what I'm hoping for. You know, I've wanted to do this my whole life, not because of a TV opportunity. You know, if TV opportunity never came my way, I'd still love wrestling and being a wrestler the same amount. So I'm happy that women's wrestling is getting more eyes on it, but it should get more eyes on it because they're good athletes and they deserve to have more eyes on it, not because of, you know, reality. So I hope it continues. I hope it continues going in a great direction. I hope they continue really proving why women's athletes are competitive and just, you know, can create good matches just like the men, but it is tough because the creativity and the, you know, the more upper echelon of matches usually go to the men. So, you know, I hope that women continue to work hard to get those opportunities. I hope they're just not given to them. And that's why I'm here to prove. Like, when I go out to the ring and I have a match, in my mind, I'm in the main event, in my main event. And that's where I'm going out there to prove. You know, it doesn't matter what place you are on the card. You know, you want that audience to remember your match out of everything. So that's definitely my motivation. And for 2019, for wrestling in general, now that, you know, All Elite Wrestling is around and New Japan has a lot going on, I really would just like, you know, competition creates the best time for anything. Because for a while, there's kind of been only, you know, one big dog in the yard, and it's been WWE. And there's a lot of up and downs with it. I mean, we're always going to love wrestling because we've loved wrestling our whole lives, but competition makes good television. So I'm hoping ratings go up. I'm hoping for some new creative ideas coming from all sorts of different wrestling promotions, and I'm hoping just to see that good spark come back alive, because that's the reason why I started watching it.
I really love the Monday Night Wars back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Made me switch the channels back and forth. And, you know, this was back when we didn't have DVR. Like, you only get
that's right.
You only get one shot to watch it. If you missed out, you don't want to be that person going to school on Tuesday. But, oh, did you see what happened? I'm like, no. Like, man. Though I like to see some competition as well. And maybe All Elite Wrestling can bring that competitive and maybe force WWE to step their game up in some ways, shape, or form. There's things to like and dislike about it. It comes with the territory. And I guess I'm just going to be less complaining and just more just enjoy the moment or whatever. I guess from a fan standpoint. And I guess we'll see where it goes from here. I mean, WrestleMania, if they were to have a women's match in the main event at WrestleMania this year, obviously it's got to include Becky Lynch with the momentum she's been getting. But if they can just get a women's match and the last match you will see at WrestleMania, that will speak volumes.
It definitely would.
It would. So, Ronda, I'm cool with that since we didn't get it at Survivor Series. But I guess we'll see how these two matches happen at the Royal Rumble between Ronda and Sasha and Becky and Asuka, and who wins the Women's Royal Rumble match. We'll see how. So what are some matches, upcoming shows for that matter, that you have coming up that people need to keep an eye on?
All right. So at the end of this month, I'll be going down south to Fort Lauderdale for CCW. The 1st of February, I will be at my home gym at Team Vision Dojo. And then February 16th, I'll be at Vero Beach for making my debut at Ignite Wrestling. So I got 2 debuts in the next couple weeks that I'm really excited about.
And before I let you go, why don't you go ahead and promote your social media feeds? Where can people get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So my number one would be my Instagram. My handle is going to be Marina25. Marina, I-N-A, just like where you park a boat, just like a marine harbor. And Facebook, Marina Tucker. You can reach out to me there as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Twitter. I don't like watching people complain that much. So I'm more of an Instagram. I like looking at people's photos.
Fair enough. That's I know I've grown to adapt to IG, so it's good when every other tweet is like meh. And it's like when I look at Instagram, see people's photos, it's like, okay, that's less stressful.
That's right. I'd rather watch people playing with their dogs or funny videos of people falling down stairs than reading people complaining too much. You already hear that as is.
I'm all for the bloopers.
That's right.